Hello everyone, I am Silver the Hedgehog here, and we are from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next installment of the My Video Game Collection video. Because you remember, any films have been, let's just say about almost 3 months ago at this rate, Blossom has already done the Nintendo Switch game collection. So, after that, we've managed to take a break on Nintendo game collection video stuff from now on, because we are moving on to the next video game company, which is of course Sony specifically. And however, today we were going to do the PlayStation 1 game collection video, but we'll save that until likely for another day, because for now we are doing my video game collection of the PlayStation 2. Yes, a very successful machine indeed, back in the day that is. So yeah, this PlayStation 2, as you can see, that we still got ourselves the original model, as you can see right here. And this particular machine did first came out in Japan in March the 4th in 2000, which I can't even believe it's been 2 decades old. Whilst later on in North America in October 26th, 2000, and also in Europe, which is of course November 24th, 2000, and also same applies to 30th of November, also in 2000. So, yeah, and this particular machine also gets its slimline version, which later on released in 2004. And let me tell you, it does have 13 years of lifespan, which is pretty incredible, I have to say, for this point. Even though it does manage to discontinue in 2013, just because they moved on to the PlayStation 3, or to be more specifically, yeah, it's definitely the PlayStation 3, and even the upcoming PlayStation 4. But either way though, that was back in the day that was. This particular unit usually just managed to get sold for 155.0 million units, as in the, according to 31st of March 2012, which, from the actual standpoint, along with the Nintendo DS, this is without a doubt the best-selling video game consoles of all time. Sorry for a little bit of a tongue twisting here, folks, I do apologize for that. And because what's cool about this is that you can play not only PlayStation 2 games, but also DVDs as well, which is the best unique selling point for the sake of this particular console. Although it does manage to still have themselves the 2 controller slots, allows you can able to actually once again purchase the multi-tap accessory, just because, well, if you want to have multiplayer action, well, by all means you can do that. But usually, relatively speaking, is the fact that we actually adore this system, which we'll probably get into that until whenever we get on to the game collection and stuff like that. So even then though, yeah, very impressed about the PlayStation 2's performance, at least back in the day that was. Sorry about that, fellas, it's just that this particular camera just goes all blurred off all by itself. But enough about jibby jabber, so let's go ahead and get started with the games themselves. So even then though, once again I'm going to be using a different camera for you guys. So as usual, we're going to be going for the alphabetical order. So starting with, of course, the B selection, which is of course Burnout. The one that started it all with the Burnout series. I enjoy this, even though it kind of feels a bit archaic, because I kind of prefer the sequels a bit more than the forms of how it does it in this installment. But apart from those decided things though, I actually really enjoyed this particular installment. So even then though, speaking of Burnout 1, there's a sequel, Burnout 2, Point of Impact. And I gotta say, I'm actually quite impressed with this installment. Even though much like the original Burnout game, it does have its archaic experience. But apart from those side of things though, it's such a good classic, which that doesn't even compare to the another sequel to Burnout, which is Burnout 3 Takedown. Easily without doubt, yes, the 10 out of 10 from PlayStation World, as you can see on the sticker. And let me tell you, I really enjoyed this particular installment of this particular Burnout game. Easily without doubt the best Burnout games ever, which according to the forms of some reviews and all that stuff, and I probably need to get back into this though once we're able to hook up our PlayStation 2 back up, but at the moment right now we're still waiting for something particularly special. Speaking of which, Burnout Dominator. I enjoyed it for a bit, even though this version also came out, or this game rather, also came out on the PlayStation Portable, which we'll discuss on that in a later day. But for what I played it, it's actually okay. Even though some people seem to able to have mixed reactions on this though, well, to be more specifically, just missing out on a couple of these events, such as there was no crash mode, and especially noticeable with, well, just anything else in general, honestly. But apart from those side of things, though, I still really enjoyed it. But even then, though, that you should definitely recommend it. And there's also another Burnout game. Yes, there were about 5 of these on the PlayStation 2, just because it was quite popular. Burnout Revenge. I absolutely enjoy this game. I remember when I managed to able to watch, well, I don't usually exist back in 2005 because I exist in 2006, being new forms of Sonic 06, but that's for a later time. But anyway, for Burnout Revenge, I actually really enjoyed this particular Burnout right here. Even though this version, or this game rather, also came out on not only for the Xbox, but on the Xbox 360. Which the only difference is between the few is the fact that they obviously includes the HD visuals and stuff like that. And yeah, as you can see on this little password right there, I don't think the camera's gonna focus. There we go. Racing Game of the Year 2005, which I can't even believe it's been about 15 years since when this game first came out in 2005, and then it's like 15 years. Jeez, time really does fly. But I really enjoyed those Burnout games. Up next, Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And as you can tell, unlike the American version, that I was expecting to get the Australian version, which does contain a Funimation voice actors in this particular whole game. But if you lived in Europe or the PAL territory, like I was actually on right now, unfortunately, you don't have an option to change the voices to Japanese or English, which is kind of disappointing, but apart from those side of things though, I can at least manage to look up on YouTube and stuff like that, so that way I can able to listen to all sorts of voice casts from the recognizable Funimation stuff. And as you can see, this is the Platinum version, because the biggest differences between the original version from that particular box art is the fact that, well, they obviously, for whatever reason, they include the Majin Buu characters, which, unlike the Platinum version, they seem to able to actually not to include them, because obviously this is actually takes place in the Saiyan Saga, the Frieza Saga, and eventually onto the Android Saga, basically. But for what I've played, it's actually pretty good, even though the story is actually the biggest highlight of this game, because it's pretty obvious because it follows the exact same events as the ones in the anime. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff, even though I do need to get onto this though for the PlayStation 2. But recently I've played the PlayStation 3 HD remaster of the game, which we'll discuss on that in another day. Speaking of Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2. Now, most people seem to think that this is probably the most least favorite, or probably some people seem to say this is the weakest of the Budokai trilogy of games. Don't get me wrong, it is still an enjoyable game nonetheless, but they managed to now finally include the Majin Buu saga and stuff like that. However though, the Dragon World appears to be some sort of like a board game, which I think that's what most people seem to complain about it. But apart from those side of things though, it's still a very recognizable gameplay style as we remember from Budokai 1, but just a little bit more of improvement, which it wasn't until, if I grab this for a second there, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, easily the best Dragon Ball Z Budokai game ever, which is probably true, even though despite the selling points didn't sell well compared to the second Budokai game along with the first Budokai game. But apart from those side things though, they fixed absolutely everything. And in fact, the story mode of this game, Dragon Universe, kind of reminds me of that particular game, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. But either way though, enough about the actual standard points worth noting for, just because we're getting onto the PlayStation 2. So either way, I haven't exactly played this yet because I'm still in the middle of Budokai 1, but either way though, well, definitely looking forward to able to playing that. But even then, yeah, I'm very glad to have that. In a considerable and a cheap price as well, because compared to used copies of the game, it costs way too expensive. Okay, sorry for another jump cut folks, because I need to get the actual time going. So anyway, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi for the PlayStation 2. To me though, this kind of feels like a weaker installment in my opinion, when it comes to like Budokai Tenkaichi games. I mean, usually relatively speaking, it's fine. I mean, compared to the sequels, mainly with Budokai Tenkaichi 2 and Budokai Tenkaichi 3, I think that the second game and the third game are easily the best. However, for the first game, it's an alright start, even though that the actual, the story mode of this game, Z Battlegate, is a nice little distraction, even though usually it's mandatory to able to unlock characters by using, fusions and stuff. But, I haven't exactly completed this game yet, just because I haven't still unlocked every single character, or even essentially, I'm still stuck on certain challenges in the, Z Battlegate mode. I mean, the one that you have to deal with is the one where you have to deal with the time limit, then able to survive for about a certain amount of time. Jesus Christ, it just gets like super tough. But even then though, it also contains like very stiff gameplay, which thankfully in the sequels they did manage to fix it. But apart from those side of things though, it's actually an alright installment. But I still prefer the second game and the third game essentially. The last Dragon Ball Z game I've got for the PS2, Dragon Ball Z Infinite Worlds. You probably recognize this as in our Christmas 2017 unboxing video if you guys want to check it out. Most people seem to think this is one of the weaker variations in terms of the Budokai series of games. This is pretty obvious because of the fact that they borrowed the exact same elements as Budokai 3, but unfortunately though, this particular installment doesn't get its good reputation for, despite of its change of name for Infinite Worlds, this is pretty much Budokai 4 basically, so I just want to classify that. But the tournament mode was being removed, and also, well, as far as I've noticed is the fact that some of the gimmicks as well as the mechanics do alternate slightly, but the single player experience on the other hand though, it's basically you going through several missions based off from fights, mini games and all that stuff, which is a bit redundant, but I totally see why that most fans were so disappointed with this installment. But even then though, it's called Dragon Mission Mode, by the way. So even then though, much like Budokai 3, I need to get around onto this at some point. And hopefully whenever we complete with the Dragon Ball Budokai games and stuff like that. So, anyway. Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy. Easily without doubt the best Jak and Daxter game, which is kind of funny. I actually got this game for free back in 2012, that is, which I have no idea why I've got this for free. Most notably because I did ask someone actually said to us, whoever got the PlayStation 2, and I said, I call it, and then they just give me this as a freebie. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I need to get around to this, even though I definitely heard about this game before, and what I can gather is the fact that this is actually a pretty fun, collectathon 3D platformer, which I can definitely say it's, the true classic to my knowledge, but even then I'm definitely looking forward to able to try that game out, even though it also came out on the PlayStation 3, and especially noticeable with the recently for the PlayStation 4 as well. But unfortunately, for Jak and Daxter fans, unfortunately we didn't got Jak 2, Jak 3, or even the Lost Frontier, and I apologize for that background noise you'd be hearing, folks, because it is so pouring rain. But I do apologize for that noise. Kingdom Hearts, the one that started it all in terms of my favorite franchises of all time, which is of course the Kingdom Hearts series. I still haven't really finished up the PS2 version of this game yet, even though that thankfully the PS3 version as well as the PlayStation 4 version gets the final mix treatment, which does manage to fix a lot of things, including with the actual some secret bosses and secret cutscenes and all that stuff though. But for what it's worth, I actually really enjoyed it. Even though for whatever reason back in the day I couldn't even keen on it too much, most notably because of the archaic controls and stuff like that. But apart from those side of things though, I actually really enjoy it. In fact, I need to get back into this version once I've done with the PlayStation 3 remastered, along with the PS4 one. Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, Kingdom Hearts 2, easily without doubt one of my favorite games of all time. Well, I would say for both the original Kingdom Hearts 2 along with the final mixed variations as well, but that was the forms of the the PlayStation 3 version as well as the PS4 version as well. I haven't really finished this yet. I'm in the middle of the forms of trying to able to do the level up grinding. Despite on the PlayStation 2 version, for whatever reason, I just picked the beginner mode at first. Although you technically need to able to get a secret movie by doing the higher difficulties, most notably with standard mode or even proud mode. But I really can't afford to do that. But apart from those side of things, though, I actually really enjoyed this particular game. So yeah, I'm very glad this game did get remastered on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. Klonoa 2, Lunacy's Veil. As you probably recognize that particular Klonoa face right here, just because recently Tiana, she is practically still working on Moonlight Museum at the moment. Speaking of that actually, we just want to briefly just point out the update for this point. Somehow that particular returning back into that particular Let's Play, Casino Klonoa Moonlight Museum Let's Play, will be pushing forward until specifically in a weekend, or to be more specifically, the 17th of October. Just want to let you know. But anyway, for Klonoa 2 Lunacy's Veil, I actually really enjoyed this particular game. Even though I haven't really finished this game yet, because there are still some collectibles I need to gather, but this game can be pretty pricey though, probably one of the priciest PS2 games I've actually did manage to able to recognize as such. Although luckily for me, I actually got this game for quite cheap back in 2013 luckily, which I did get it along with Super Mario Sunshine and stuff like that, which is obviously pretty cool. But even then though, after when I finish up with Klonoa 1 on the PlayStation and the Nintendo Wii remake, then hopefully whenever we're done with the Moonlight Museum along with the GBA games as well, hopefully we'll get onto this. So even then though, it should be pretty exciting for able to do this Let's Play exponentially. Okay, sorry for this jump cut for this point guys. We were originally trying to able to do the halfway point of, for the PS2 games, but for whatever reason is that this camera I've got always gives me a lot of problems, so I just want to classify that for upscaling quality and stuff like that, so I just want to bring it up. So either way though, enough about that, let's get on to the next game. Mortal Kombat Deception. I haven't exactly touched upon this, but for what I've heard, it's actually a pretty cool game. Even though that, if for those of you kids out there, do not watch this video, only like certain adults or anything like that, because, well, obviously this game is purely mature for kids. So anyway, for what I can gather, it's actually a pretty enjoyable game, for what I've heard of it anyway, and I might as well give that a shot. Next up, Pac-Man World 2. For those of you who already know about this game, because I think that Mickey Mouse has already done his this Let's Play already. So if you want to check it out, and well, much like always, I actually really enjoyed it. Speaking of controversial out there, Pac-Man World 3. Oh boy, everyone seemed to really dislike this game as much. Because, as far as I can tell, it plays out pretty identical. That was before when Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric usually a thing. But either way though, as far as this game in particular goes, it's pretty mediocre. But as far as next year coming up, we're most able to do this Let's Play, so wish me luck. Wish me luck. Rayman Revolution, or as I like to call it, Rayman 2 The Great Escape, because as far as I can tell, this is just basically Rayman 2 The Great Escape, but on the PlayStation 2. The biggest differences between any other versions is that the PS2 version does contain a ginormous hub world, which as far as I can tell, because, well, I done some researches and all that stuff, so you probably get the idea of how this is going. But as far as this particular version, from what I've noticed, it's actually pretty good, even though the voice acting is actually got a bit muffled up at points. But compared to the PlayStation version, man, the voice acting is actually really good on the original PlayStation. But nothing compares to the forms of any other versions, because obviously it gets like a Rayman kind of language or something. Even though I still prefer the Dreamcast version of Rayman 2, but that's for the later time. Shadow the Hedgehog. I know it's a bit of a controversial because we've already owned this on the Nintendo GameCube, but the PS2 version, on the other hand, this is one of the worst of the three, just because it has poor frame rate, longish load times, and also controls-wise, it's unprecise. And to top it all off is the fact that, well, the visuals doesn't look all that great, but you guys know I think about this, or some toys out there already know about this is, because they obviously did done a Let's Play of it back in like last year or something. I can't believe Shadow the Hedgehog is now 15 years, like 15 years old, along with, of course, Burnout Revenge. Sonic Gems Collection for the PlayStation 2. Now, this is obviously released in Europe or England, and also came out in Japan, but it was never released in North American for some reason, which I have no idea why. They just never seem to get this release on North America on the PS2 version. But the reason why I got this is because, well, we might as well able to discuss on that in a moment, because in addition to having Sonic Gems Collection, well, actually, we'll save this up until when we get into it in a moment. Sonic Heroes, also owned this on the PlayStation 2. Just like Shadow the Hedgehog, this is easily the worst version of Sonic Heroes because of the frame rate. It's actually dropped from 30 frames per second as opposed to solid 60 frames per second, unlike the PC version or the GameCube or even the Xbox version as of now. And for what I can gather, yeah. And also it does have some collision detection issues, which I've come across into that a lot on this version. So, yeah, I have no idea why I've got that to begin with. So, let's bring that up. Sonic Mega Collection Plus. The reason why I managed to got this is because, well, in addition to having those great Sonic games again, just like in the GameCube version, but you also get yourself 6 bonus games from the Sega Game Gear. And also, until eventually at some point in the future, we might be able to do ourselves some sort of like a live stream, mainly with the Sega Game Gear Marathon again, but this time around on live stream or something like that. But even though I have no idea how do I plan this out yet, but even then, in the meantime, we'll wait for that until God knows when, this year has gone pretty much over and done with. So either way though, let's just place this back up. There we go, that should do it. Sonic Unleashed. Oh yes, I got this version as well, and also got the Wii version along with the other 2 versions, but we'll save that for a later video as well. I have to admit though, this version of the game, the PS2 version, was actually one of my least favorite versions of Sonic Unleashed. No idea why. It's because of the visuals do look a bit blurry at most, and also there's no way you can able to actually just to realize that you can't really change your you know, in the file selection that normally you expect to able to pick Sonic as an icon, but unfortunately it's randomized every time whenever you start the game up. Also, the amount of load times are everywhere, which is kind of a little bit worse than the let's just say Nintendo Wii version, or even especially noticeable with the HD versions and stuff like that, which I have no idea. But I'm actually on the final boss already, so even then though I'm still stuck on that at the moment because of, in addition to that, some jinky controls and stuff sometimes. But anyway, actually, let me just put the pile onto the other pile, so that way we could able to see it a little bit more splendid, which, no idea why I say that. SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Yes, for those of you who know what this is, because I think Sonic recently did this LP, because thanks to the forms of the remastered remake, just recently came out for about 4 months ago, and I actually had a huge blast with this, even then though, despite my PS2 doesn't want to read this game very well. But apart from that though, we actually really had a good time playing it. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And for those of you probably wondering, yes, I will eventually try to get onto this until next year, which, to be more specifically, until around the same time as when Sponge on the Run is going to be on, well, on demand or something like that, because of, you know, the pandemic managed to able to actually delay the film, let's just say, twice. Twice. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to able to actually know something like this. But yeah, they delayed the film twice for a Sponge on the Run. But luckily for Canada, they did manage to get the theatrical release. So that's that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to able to get onto this until specifically next year, which even though that might be seems the case for those of you probably wondering. Alright, we got 2 games left. Spyro A Hero's Tale, in this case Spyro 5, because, well, I know this sounds a little bit illogical, but we're actually going to be doing this in a little bit of an, well, let's just say an alphabetical error, but A Hero's Tale, it does have an A, so that usually counts. So, I haven't really played this yet, probably it's because of how the fact that, well, I need to get my hands on the PlayStation physical versions of Spyro 1, 2, and 3, just because I just want to get my original experiences of them. But as far as I can tell, this game is actually alright. So, might be curious about that. And finally, the most obscure games of the Spyro universe, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, aka Spyro 4 Enter the Dragonfly. You guys know I think about this is, it's pretty much underwhelming. Because, well, it's pretty obvious. It includes some multiple glitches, and also same applies to questionable, well, character animations or something. But I watched certain reviews of this, and yeah, this is the most despicable Spyro games, along with Spyro Orange, the Cortex Conspiracy, which that might be seems the case. So, oh boy, am I able to play this at some point? But yeah, that was it, folks. That was it for the PlayStation 2 game collection video. Sure, I wish I'd like to get more. Specifically, someone in the comments want me to able to purchase Piglet's Big Game, which I'm about to do that, because our original copy of the GameCube version is now no longer working on my Nintendo GameCube and my Nintendo Wii, so at least I can get the PS2 replacement. And also Winnie the Pooh's Rumbly Tumbly Adventure. Yeah, I think I spelled it right. Although, let me know in the comments below, but even then, I hope you're able to understand. So, with that being said though, hope you guys do enjoy this particular collection. This is me, Silver the Hedgehog, from the Maxi Toys. And next up, in terms of the let's just say the next video game collection video, in this case, the next PlayStation collection, which this time around, I think we might able to do PlayStation 1. Yeah, PlayStation 1. That sounds about right. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. Especially noticeable, actually, because until likely next month, PlayStation 5 will be on its way as well. So that might be very interesting to be able to do the rest of the PlayStation game collections or what have you, because I feel like doing that. So anyways, I better go off, so see you then.